乾杯。入れんの。真っ暗や。あれ？奥なんかおらん？
どこ？
どこ？
So, Ghost Theater was actually released back in 2015, and I had planned on doing a review for it closer to its release date, but I actually couldn't even finish the movie the first time. I don't know if I just wasn't in the mood for that kind of film that day or what was going on, but because I'm looking forward to Hideo Nakata's newest Sadako film, which is coming out on Blu-ray soon, I've decided that it was a great time to try and revisit it. So far, a lot of the reviews for the new Sadako have been pretty negative, and a lot of people have stated that they think Nakata hasn't made a good film since the original Ring. Now, I totally disagree with that, because I actually do think that his adaptation of Kaidan was really good, and I actually really did enjoy The Complex as well. I was excited to see Ghost Theater because of Nakata's involvement, but also because my buddy Petrie had actually told me about La Pascualita. To keep this short, La Pascualita is an extremely realistic looking mannequin in Chihuahua, Mexico, who many believe is actually the preserved corpse of the original shop owner's daughter, who died tragically on her wedding day. Many claim to have seen her walking around the shop after hours, and it's also been said that she apparently changes her dress herself. After my friend showed me pictures of her, I thought, wow, like this would make a really great horror flick. And as it turned out, the trailer for Ghost Theater had just dropped. I found this to be quite odd, but Ghost Theater is actually supposed to be a sort of reimagining of one of Nakata's older films called Ghost Actress or Don't Look Up. But if I remember correctly, I think the only thing the two films really have in common is the stage setting and the supernatural aspects, but nothing else. But now that the preface is over, what did I think of the film? Well, I did actually enjoy it a lot more the second time around, but it still wasn't really a home run for me. Even the second time around, I thought that the opening sequence was very strangely executed, and I guess that kind of set the tone for me the first time I tried watching it, and I just couldn't get into it. But of course, this time around, I forced myself to watch the rest. The film follows a character named Sarah, who lands a leading role in a big theater play about Elizabeth Bathory. Sarah has been having a hard time finding serious roles, and has been trying to stay away from becoming a sex symbol like her agent suggests. One of the props being used in the play is the aforementioned mannequin, and people involved in the play slowly begin to die mysteriously. Now, I personally think that audience expectation is the kryptonite of film. I do think it's a little unfair for us to expect Nakata to match the work he did on The Ring, but at the same time, it's hard not to expect it when we know he's capable of doing something great. I mean, we all know that he does possess the skill set to create a really unsettling sequence. Ghost Theater definitely has its great moments, especially those involving the mannequin itself. Most of her sequences seem to have been done practically, which I loved, and thankfully Sarah is not a dumb character. She's very quick to catch on to what's going on and instantly tries to figure out a way to stop more deaths from happening. The problem I had with the film is that none of the ideas it presents seem to ever come full circle or connect in any meaningful way. As I mentioned earlier, Sarah's agent does try to make her become a sex symbol, since she's having a hard time finding good roles, but Sarah's just not very interested in doing that. So very early on we see that Sarah really just loves acting, and she would rather work hard to find her footing rather than take a few photos in a bikini. The theater director who casts her in the play actually ends up being a bit of a creep, I guess, to put it lightly. So that plot point does continue throughout, but then it doesn't really go anywhere. Sarah does accomplish her goal of becoming a serious actress by the end of the film, but it seems to only happen because of the events that took place. She doesn't exactly earn it because she proves her ability as an actress, but because she survived a killer mannequin massacre. We also get to see a lot of scenes from the play itself, which has some really cool set pieces, and they deal with the desire to remain young and beautiful. Basically, if you're familiar with the story of Elizabeth Bathory, you'll automatically recognize the themes being presented. These themes could have perfectly blended with the struggles that Sarah faces in the entertainment world. But for some reason, they never really make that parallel. And I'm not one of those people that think that every film needs to have a deep meaning or whatever. But because all these complementary ideas were thrown into the mix, I was a little disappointed that they didn't connect them the way I had hoped. I guess you can argue that you're supposed to make those connections yourself, but in this particular film, I find that kind of pointless if the characters aren't making the connection. Overall, I thought Ghost Theater was fine. It's a decent film with a lot of really interesting visuals, but it doesn't really go beyond that. It was interesting to see how Nakata's style has evolved after tackling the American sequel to The Ring. There are still glimpses of his traditional Japanese style, but there's definitely a more Western influence in his most recent films. This film also isn't really particularly scary, but it's super enjoyable in a Goosebumps episode kind of way. If for some reason you haven't seen Hideo Nakata's The Complex, I actually would recommend that one instead. But I think if this video sparked your interest in the film, it's definitely worth a watch. I'm still really looking forward to seeing the new Sadako. I know all the reviews have been super negative, like I mentioned earlier, but I'm so stubborn when it comes to that series. I want to like every entry. I guess only time will tell. Thank you for sticking around to the end of the video. I do look forward to the possibility of talking about these films with anyone who may be watching. But until then, sweet screams, everyone.
ちょうだい